In 6 days, I will be 41. And even though the year, technically the calendar year, just started on January 1st, my new year starts on Monday. And as I have been sitting here the last couple weeks in this calendar year and thinking about what this year means for me, what my year means for me, loud came up in my spirit, boastful came up in my spirit, which is shocking to a lot of people. Transformation came up in my spirit. Knowledge, otherworldly knowledge came up in my spirit. You know, I've never been a fan of the word humble. Let me go ahead and let you know this year for me won't be about being humble. And if you know you have a message that needs to get out in the world, if you know that you are meant to transform lives, if you know that your sheer existence should transform lives, you shouldn't be humble either. Let's get into it. Wow, wow, wow. Like mentioned, guys, in 6 days, I will be 41. It is my birthday, February the 6th. You should be likely receiving this. It's going to go live on February 1st. And this year, oddly enough, I have no plans for my birthday. I usually travel or have a dinner party or something. I have no plans. And to be very transparent, this year, this birthday is coming up. It's like a reflective year for me. It's a moment of reflection and then a moment of planning. You see, I've talked in other episodes about the last couple years being my winter. The last couple years, I've been rather dormant, if I was very transparent. But if you've been kind of close, you know, the last few weeks, it has been my spring. I have been over here blooming. But winter always comes right before spring. And I began to think about in other spring periods of my life. I'm an Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius sun with the Leo moon and a Virgo rising. There really is nothing all that humble about me in general, my personality type. I remember it's been many, many springs of mine, years where I will bloom. And one of the biggest, I guess we'll call it complaints. I don't really see it as complaints. I see it as praise, but I know it was meant as complaints, is that I needed to humble myself. And interesting enough, every time someone told me to humble myself, God put me on a higher pedestal so I could touch more people. Stick with me here. And I think about how many people in this world who believe in God or source or universe, who also has this connecting belief to several things. You know, I always talk about lack is not of God. But I also don't believe downplaying yourself is. I don't really believe. Now, we can say that the Bible talks about being humble, but we need to go back to the etymology of that word and also the original word that was there, because it was not humble. But that's not the lesson for today, so I'm not going to get into that. When God turned the water into wine, even though he did it humbly for what I believe that would have meant, you wouldn't have called it humble. The very people who tell you to lower your voice, quiet your message, don't show up, don't be a peacock. As soon as you turn that water into wine, they would have said you were showing out. As soon as that woman touched the hem of your garment and was healed, they would have said you were showing out. As soon as you raised that little girl from the dead and told her to get up and walk, they would have said you were showing out. But when we think about who Jesus was, who the character of Jesus was, we would have put the word humble on there. This year, for myself and for you too, I want to encourage you to throw the modern day definition of humble away. See, when people tell you to be humble, they are telling you to sit down. When people tell you to be humble, they are telling you to be quiet. When people tell you to be humble, they are telling you that you are outshining them. When people tell you to be humble, your power is scaring them. But what I want you to know is when you know that you are blessed with power, when you know that you are blessed with a message inside of you that is bigger than you, when you know that the message that God is in you is an empowering one that must be heard, you understand that the masses must get the message. God is too great in me for me to be humble. My message is too great for me to be humble. The transformation is too great for me to be humble. I ain't no humble. And so I've decided in this season, I'm going to be loud. I'm going to shout from the rooftops. I am going to piss people off. And I am going to open eyes. There is no humble in this season. When we are walking in the God in us, there is no humble, because the works in which Jesus did, in which we were told that we could do also, those works today would not be considered humble, yet it was in that time. And so I impart in you that humble is not of this season for you. This is the season for miracles. This is the season in miracles in your life, and seasons in miracles and you working them in other people's lives. This is the season for people to see you and see God work through you. This is the season for people to see you and see what is possible through God. We are not allowing anyone to trick us into sitting down, being quiet, or being humble. Because the message you have in you is too great. Because the power you hold is too great. You see, when you have power, you can't afford to be humble. When you know who lives in you as you, you can't afford to be humble. The people who are telling you that God isn't in you, they aren't quiet. They aren't meek. They are proud to tell you, no, that's not true. You can't afford it. So as I reflect on this upcoming year for me, all I see is a peacock with its wings out, showing its feathers, showing all its beautiful colors, letting everyone know that I am God because God lives in me as me. You are God because God lives in you as you. And once you admit that, once you claim that, once you embrace that with no embarrassment, because our conditioning will make us feel a way. But once you can accept that as your truth, you will begin to notice your power. You will begin to notice a thought you think within a few moments. It's activated in the physical. You will begin to recognize that your desires that's in the quantum, you are now completely activated with that thing. You are now vibrating on the same level as that thing. And what does that mean when you're vibrating on the same level of the quantum realm that you're vibrating in? Everything in that realm is yours. The only reason you don't have what you desire is because you're not vibrating that. You don't recognize your power yet. You don't recognize that because God is in you as you can call a thing and it's now yours. You can call a thing and you are vibrating with that thing. You can call a thing and you can move every mountain. You don't quite grasp that yet. But in this season, you will.